Welcome to the Reading Rift. I'm Lydia.
And I'm Beck.
And this week we are interviewing the author of Golden Resistance, A.O. Garnette.
And this is an adult podcast. As always, there's adult topics with adult language.
And this episode will be spoiler-free for the book. We're going to dive into this wonderful author, talk about her journey, and specifically spoiler-free teasers for the book. So first question that we have for you, thanks for being here, by the way. First question we have is, did you grow up in a reading household, or did you kind of discover books on your own?
So my family was always really into reading. My grandfather had literally a library in his house where he had just shelves and shelves and shelves of books. And reading was always super duper encouraged. I remember when I really started getting into reading, I was in, grade school, 4th, 5th grade, when you really start to realize, this is enjoyable. And I never, ever really stopped after that until I started having kids, and then kind of took a step back, which I know we'll get into a little bit later.
Yeah.
And who were the authors or that books that shaped you in your reading and writing?
So early on, honestly, I loved, and this is obviously not appropriate for children to read, but I loved them so much I snuck them. I loved reading James Patterson in 7th, 8th grade, not appropriate for a 7th or 8th grade. But I would literally go into my grandfather's library and I would steal these books because they were always so plot twisty and I never knew what was going to happen and it was so unpredictable, and I loved that about his books. So he was a huge, huge influence very early on, and I should not have been reading his books that early. Do not recommend.
I think it's understandable. I mean, I think I was reading Stephen King at a pretty young age, and it's those books aren't actually dangerous to young kids.
Yeah, I'm reading Stephen King more now, but 100%.
It sounds like your grandfather kind of really set this beautiful scene for a library in your childhood. Were there any adult figures, like a librarian or a teacher or just an adult figure that maybe really shaped your, put the seed in your mind of maybe I want to do this, something more with this?
So I actually never wanted to be a writer. That was never something that was on my radar. It was never something that I had a picture of as a scope in my head. But looking back, there was a key moment in school when I was in 9th grade going into 10th grade, and I'd always been very middle of the road, below average student. And that year I'd excelled in English, and the teacher pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, if you want, I can recommend you for AP English and Advanced English, but it's only if you want to do this." And I ended up saying yes. And I think that really is what took the hard turn into me really enjoying reading, picking apart reading. And that is, I think that is why I am the writer I am today, is because of her.
In your acknowledgments, correct me, I'm getting all these details fuzzy, but you mentioned a friend that gave you a book kind of after you had kids and you had been experiencing postpartum depression, and you said it kind of kickstarted you back. Can you tell us a little bit about what I'm talking about from your acknowledgments?
Yeah, of course. So my friend, one of my best friends, Kaylee, I have 3 kids, and after my second was born, she was born in August of 2020. So in the middle of COVID, everything sucked. Life was horrible. And I literally was in the most horrific postpartum depression. I couldn't even, I've had depressive episodes before, but this was beyond, couldn't kick myself out of it. And she, no shock to anyone, brought over a quart of thorns and roses. And yep. And literally I hadn't read 5 years, maybe hadn't picked up a book. And I had been such an avid reader for so long. And she gave that to me, and that it lived, the book, in no exaggeration, saved my life. It brought me back from the brink of a complete destruction, which was really cool.
Our very first podcast episode is called The Books That Saved My Life, because we both have moments where we were struggling with life, but reading a fantasy book is actually what kept us like helped
Yeah.
us to be able to move forward for me was also guitar, specifically like Nesta's book, The Court of Silver Flames. I had just had a miscarriage. I was like really struggling with
I'm sorry.
like changes in my body from having 2 kids, all these things.
Mhm.
And I was like so not feeling life. And then I read those books, and for some reason I was like energized. I was able to like get up and clean the house and like go outside and do things. So I always thought it had to be a self-help book or like a motivational speech or something, but no, ACOTAR, Fourth Wing, those books got me.
Mine was
Listen.
the Storm Archive, so definitely not a self-help.
I understand that. I'm so grateful to that series because I mean, as you just said, it changed my life. I would not have written this book had she not come over to my house and put that book in my hands. I wouldn't have.
Awesome. Thanks for your friend then. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is getting into your writing now.
Okay.
When did you start writing?
So that's a fun story. I didn't mean to write a book. Never had any intention. Oh yeah. Oh, this is a when I tell you I had no aspirations to be a writer, I mean that in every sense of the word. It was never on my radar. So obviously very vivid imagination. I always have had one. Very vivid dreams. Just always very imaginative. And about 2.5 years ago at this point, I had this dream about Kent and Luna. And in my head, like I could see their faces. I could see, 2 of my main characters in the book. Probably should have said that. So I can see their faces in my head, and I could not get them out of my head. I thought about them for weeks, and I was like, I'm just gonna write a little like short story. It'll be fine. Not a big deal. Whatever. And a short story turned into a couple chapters, which turned into several chapters. And by the time I realized I was writing a book, I'd written 40,000 words. So I had no idea. Like I was just like coming home and like therapy, like I'm going to just type away. Like this feels great. And I finally sat back and was like, oh, what do I do? Like, and so at that point I had to choose if I wanted to continue and, kind of continue on this trajectory or if I wanted to stop. So I don't really have a good answer to that. It just happened. It was a very organic thing.
I will say that it doesn't sound too crazy to me because Beck, okay, you've like kind of been writing your whole life. Like she's always been writing. But my husband had always had these same thing, like these big dreams, like vivid dreams, like stories that like he just like felt in his soul or whatever. And then I remember when we'd been married for like several years, we'd had kids, and he just said, I'm gonna write a book. And then I remember watching him like sit down at the desk, and like 2 weeks later, he had written a full book. And I was just like, where did where did this come from?
What happened?
Now it's become like all of our personalities is like writing, reading, authors, bookstores, all these things.
Right.
So
I love it though. I love it.
It's not a bad life. So in this accidentally stumbling upon writing a book, which I think is every author's dream, is just to accidentally write a book.
Right, accidentally create a book. Like, ooh.
In this journey, though, did anyone, including yourself, ever have doubt, and how did you handle this?
I am, which not many people know, but I'm going through a divorce. So I am literally in the throes of this person who, did support me for so long and was invested for so long, now being the biggest naysayer I've ever had. So when at the beginning, and the reason I'm saying this to you is because at the beginning, I was the one who was doubtful and I didn't believe in myself. And he was the one being like, you can, I support you. I do, this. And then through the divorce and the trajectory that everything, went through, it's completely flipped. And it's just been a very odd change of events. So again, that is that answer in a nutshell.
I think it's really hard when because like in life we change as we grow.
Yeah.
Like the point of life is to change, and it's really hard in relationships, even friendships. Like when you're changing and then the people around you start to not be able to grow with that change that you're or like, I have this passion that I'm gonna do, or other things, and then like other people aren't growing at the same rate, and it gets really life is complicated. That's for sure.
Right.
Very.
Listen, some things are for seasons.
Yep. What was your biggest I can do this moment though? Like when were you like, you know what? I actually can do this and I am going to do this.
Honestly, again, not a typical answer. When I handed the book to the beta readers, when I was done, so the way I typically try and write is I underwrote at every single stage because I wanted to add rather than have to take away. That's easier for me, conceptually. And so when I gave it to the beta readers, it was only 65,000 words. So not more of a novella or whatever. But once I literally, manuscript in hand to them as I was like sitting in Target picking out, because I put together little packets for them with highlighters and stickies and everything else so they could annotate as they went. That was when I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. This is going to happen.
Nothing like some good office supplies to like.
I know. Listen,
going.
I love a good highlighter.
Yeah. So was this the first book you had written then?
Yeah, I've never written a book before.
That is so incredible to me, just to get this idea and then to do it and then just be like, I wrote a book.
And then what do you do next? You write a book?
Yeah.
How did you figure out these things like beta readers? Like I remember when my husband wrote his book, it was like, what do I do now? So what was your process from, okay, I have a first draft, I have whatever this is, I'm going to figure out how to edit it, revise it, somehow get it published. Like, how did you do that process?
So for me, I started looking up self-publishing everything. I was like, how do I do this? How do I go about this? What do I do? And ended up coming across a company called Self-Publishing. And the company's not for everybody, but it was basically like an advanced college course, a crash college course of here's how you publish an indie book. And they gave you, they help you with the cover and everything. But that literally is how I made it through because of all of the information, because it's just a pile of information that you basically kind of self-teach. And obviously with TikTok and all the mentors I met and people I've talked to, but the self-publishing course online, and again, not for everybody. I realized that was a choice that I made because I was like, I never meant to be a writer. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I have no idea what's happening right now. So that was literally how I managed that, because what ended up happening once I had gotten, signed on with them, paid for the course, I literally had my first meeting with my mentor, he's written like 30 books. He writes fantasy, male, romance, and they're huge. But I was telling him the plot of my story, and he looks at me and he goes, you need to get rid of this time jump, which you guys don't know about because it's not there. So what I had originally done is I had done it where you were, where the water contamination happened. And then you were there for like a third of the book. And then you jumped to Luna. And then you jumped back. And he was like, just focus on Luna. You can make the other thing a prequel at one point. And I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much more sense, which is, I think, why the world is the way that it is, because I had already built so much of it, around that, and then was able to focus on the story that Luna is, and Naomi and Kent and Darren.
I think when I was reading your book, I could definitely tell that you knew what things looked like, you knew why things looked like, you knew all these questions that you had to have thought about it for a long time, or had background information. Like when my husband writes a book or she's writing a book and she's like, all of this happened. You'll never read about any of this, but this is important. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's like a whole book right there.
Yeah.
It is like hard to like, I get it. It's like all of this lore, it's not important to the story. And you don't need to know it. But it's, you can tell when you're reading a book that it's there. You can tell.
Right. You can tell it's thought out.
Yeah. And I do think that's important, definitely, when it comes to like sci-fi, fantasy, or anything that's just world building, that it's the feeling from reading it. And it is a good one.
Yeah. I think like, I like books where I know the author is obsessed with their book. Like, I have read books where you can write a good book that people love, but it's more so you're like, I'm writing it because it makes money, or this is the genre that people like, and they're not as obsessed with their stuff. But I love talking to an author where they're like, okay, but you want to know why this thing is actually this way. And like, I love your sticky notes back there, because that's like, I'm thinking like, you know fun facts that we don't know.
I'm literally like looking at some of the background. I'm like, why did I choose this background? Like, I'm getting stressed out because I know that they're there.
That is, to me, like, that is a good writer right there. That is someone who's obsessed with their world building, their characters, like everything. And that is a good book.
Yeah. Well,
so
thank you.
Is the part of writing that is the most challenging part for you? Or what challenged you the most starting off in this book that you didn't even know you were going to write?
So honestly, I think the story for me was effortless. I mean, even now, like, it's a series, obviously it's labeled as a series. Like, for book 2, I know where book 2 ends. I don't know if we're going to be 3 or 5 books. It's going to depend on how there's, with spoiler free, there's specific things that have to happen as far as tension between several characters having falling outs. And I don't know if it's going to be too clustered to do it all in book 2, or if I'm going to need to make it 4 or so it would potentially be 4 or 5 instead of 3. So it's just, that's kind of going to depend on how that plays out as far as details. So the story for me was effortless. I didn't have any trouble with the imagination of it. I didn't have any trouble picturing it. I knew, again, where I wanted to go, what I needed to do. For me, the biggest problem has been the organization of it. And I realized that that's not necessarily a writing piece, but like knowing how I need to lay out my timeline as far as production, as far as editing, beta readers, developmental edits, professional edit, like all those things, because I completely screwed myself on the first book and like ended up being up till 1, 2 in the morning to get it done because I didn't know what I was doing. So I thought that I was like, oh, I'm being so generous with my time and like this is gonna be fine. It was not fine. It was the opposite of fine. It was extremely stressful. So not writing per se, but that was a huge, huge learning curve for me.
What was the process for you to decide self-publishing versus traditional? Did you ever consider traditional, or were you kind of like, I just think I want to figure out the self-publishing?
So by the time, I'd realized that I was writing a book, I was like, I don't even want to do traditional publishing. Like, I don't want to go backwards and have to figure out, an agent and whatever. I was like, I would rather have this story be, out and available. And if only one at the time I was like, if only other one person enjoys it or takes something away from it, that will mean something to me. And I would rather have that because I wasn't looking to do it to make money. I just wanted to share the story that was in my heart and in my head.
I love that. And then what misconceptions did you have about publishing before you started? Like the process to start publishing?
None. I knew nothing.
When you started writing the book, you just started writing, but
right. Honestly, I don't think I realized the extent that the marketing is and the toll that social media takes. I mean, that was one of the things, the tips that I got early on was start social media immediately. Even if you're just on with your pen name and you're just, watching and liking and following and commenting, that is still important. And you can start to post when you feel comfortable. But having even being on for 6 months before you start posting, like you don't have to start posting immediately. But that is it was a huge, huge difference. It also was something that, I just didn't consider how much time that was going to take.
Yep. Social media, you got to be an author, an editor, a marketer, all the things. It's like social media is like the greatest gift technology has given us for like, you couldn't have been an indie author without social media, but
no way.
It's so difficult battling the algorithms or like trying to figure out what content people want to see. How do you get someone to read your book? Those things are so complicated.
And we've had this conversation with so many authors at this point. Your book, Golden, algorithm doesn't care. Algorithm doesn't care.
Yeah, doesn't give a shit. They give zero shits.
How did you make your books? Like logistics, give us the tea. Are you using Amazon KDP or how are you making the book?
So I used Google Docs at the beginning. Everything was on Google Docs. That's where I kept everything. It was just easier for me. When I started to format, I went through Atticus because I couldn't afford anything else. I was like, that's where we're going to go because it was a one-time payment. I got the whole system and that's how I formatted the first book. As far as KDP, I mean, it's the devil, there's no other system that gives you to that many readers and gives you, I mean, the payout is terrible. The exclusivity sucks. But I can't reach 6 million other readers any other way. I mean, it is the easiest way to do it. Yeah, I don't want to. I would rather be, on the Barnes and Noble, shelf and all the places, but that's not realistic either. So it's figuring out what works and what doesn't. But the other thing that really, I think makes a difference is Kindlepreneur. That is huge. And if you don't know what that is, look it up, get on the newsletter. This guy, it's like all he does, and he's actually the creator of Atticus as well, but all he does is analyze Amazon's algorithm and how they go through their things and gives out free information, free tutorials, I mean, he does have products, but you don't necessarily need them. He doesn't make it exclusive, so you have to use his products to get the result. You can, it is easier with his products, but you can still go about it the same way. And I mean, I think he's fabulous. Like he has been a wealth of knowledge.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll have to look into that.
Yeah. What is, there's so many, I bet, because like between Amazons and trying to get the right deals, what is the most challenging part of being an indie author?
I'm going to go back to marketing. I mean, I really do think marketing is the absolute, it is so difficult and just it's so time consuming, it's just not something it's a time suck.
What are your thoughts on Golden Resistance being an audiobook? And is that in a process or is that something you want to do?
Oh, I actually, right before signing on here, I got some really cool news, and I don't think I can share it with you as far as an audiobook goes, but I just got somebody to sign on to do the male voices for this. So I'm doing dual narration where I'm going to do a female narrator, but female is going to do the female voices, male's going to do the male voices through the entire book. But the female, I love her. She's fabulous. She's already agreed. I've got her, under lock and key. And she and I were kind of talking back and forth. And I was like, oh, maybe we could use this person. She was like, oh my gosh, he's like dream audiobook person to work with. And I just got an email back from them that they agreed. And I'm like, freaking out because I'm so excited. So,
We don't know about information, but that's like so exciting.
Listen. I mean, I can't. I don't. Dragons, right?
I got what you're saying. I got you. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
So I'm like excited.
That is so awesome. That's one of the things I love most about our podcast is we talk to a lot of authors. I love being so invested in their journey because, we follow authors on social media, but then you sit down and you have an hour-long conversation with an author and it's like, I'm invested in everything that's going to come from your life. So, okay.
We have these conversations with authors, and sometimes you hear like I don't know if that will ever happen, and then you follow them on social media and it's happening for them, and we just get so stoked because it's like finally
awesome.
So stoked for you.
What do you wish readers understood about supporting authors?
That a bad review is not a bad review. It's not. I would rather have a bad review over somebody who just went, oh, it's an amazing read, it's 5 stars. Because a bad review is not only telling me what that person didn't like, and their opinion's valid. They're allowed to not like things. Not everybody's going to like the book. That's fair. But it also tells you what you can possibly correct in the future. Because if you're getting the same comment multiple times, which I did with my ARC readers, and you guys didn't get this part of the book, but there was a change that was made in the first 2 weeks of the ARC being put out because I had 3 reviews in a row with the same complaint. And I was like, ooh, I don't like that. So then I went to my editor and was like, hey, this is the complaint. What do you think? And she was like, I don't agree, but if you're wanting to mass market, change it. So I did.
Cool. I've never heard that before. I've always heard from authors saying, I never read my reviews on Goodreads.
No, I go to the negative because I love the good reviews. They're amazing and they're great for marketing and I love reading them. They make me so happy, but I go to the bad reviews because I want to know how I can improve. How can I be and there's bad reviews in there. Like there's one that I can tell they didn't finish the book because there's certain things that they said. And again, DNF the book. You don't like it? Don't suffer. Don't do that. Why would you? Don't waste your time. That's okay. But there are other ones on there that I can learn from and I can do better and I can make my writing better and more accessible to more people.
That's why we started this podcast because Beck and I don't like the same things, but we can talk about them in a way of which it's constructive.
Yeah.
Not like I'm going to yell at you or this is trash or something like that, where it's like, okay, I didn't like this. It's not for me. It's cool that it's for you. So
yeah, because it started off as the difference between those bad reviews. Because I know there was a series,
Fourth Wing.
Oh no! It started off with I don't like that book because fuck that book. There was 2 things. 1, not my genre. 2, actual constructive criticism that I had about the first book, and it wasn't that's what I think about bad reviews. Some bad reviews, this is not just a cup of tea. That's actually not constructive criticism. It's not a good review. Just get out of here with that. Other reviews, that's constructive criticism. That was an appropriate thing to say, but in the beginning with Lydia and I, what I was saying about Fourth Wing was not constructive criticism. It was just
we had to grow. We had to grow.
Listen, everybody grows. That's life. You evolve.
Okay, so let's talk about the book now. Spoiler free. This is just to tease us. Those who haven't read it, get invested because you're going to want to read this. So what is your book elevator pitch to readers?
So my book is a dystopian sci-fi that is a page turner, and at the end will leave you going, what the hell did I just read?
Facts. I was reading it last night in bed, and my husband, I gasped. I'm like, what? And he was like, what happened? And I was like, I can't even talk about it right now. I can see you doing that.
Sorry, I'm not sorry. I
just had to digest that ending.
The worst part is that while we're recording this, the book's not technically out yet. So that means we have to wait that much longer for the next one.
I know. We're almost there though. Woo! Love self-publishing. Okay.
Okay, the next one is, if readers enjoy these 3 books, they will enjoy your book.
So if you like Red Rising, if you like Hunger Games, if you like Crescent City, Golden Resistance is for you. It is your YA dystopia elevated.
Okay.
Yes. I was literally telling Beck or my husband the other day, I was like, I want to experience Hunger Games. I want to experience dystopian books with the adult maturity levels of emotions and content. And then I read your book and I was like, yes, bring back the dystopian era, people. Okay.
Right. I love dystopian.
Yeah. Sorry, I just touched you. Okay.
Obviously.
What emotional experience do you want readers to walk away with when they read your book?
I want readers, when they're finished obviously I want readers to be surprised and want more when they're done reading the book. Sorry, my cat is in the background. So I want readers to want more and be excited while they're reading the book, but I also want them, as they finish, to feel seen and to know that this book is, all of these characters are meant to be real people. And even the villain, who, as you all know, that's a large part of the book, especially at the end. The villain, especially in book 2, is a person, and very much so a full circle person. And the reasoning behind their actions, the reasoning behind their choices is going to make more sense in book 2 as you experience that. So I want that's my main one, is I wanted all of my characters to be accessible. I wanted them all to be diverse, but I also wanted them all to be real.
Yes, definitely lots of real, dark, sometimes nice cute cat, but heavy topics, but that's what life is. Life is real. And I love books where the characters struggle with things that I struggle with. This one's a silly example, but I love in Sarah J. Maas. I love in Throne of Glass, ACOTAR, whatever you read by her. Her female main characters struggle with menstrual cycles or they have the pain. And I'm like, yeah, just I love that this is in a book, or this is something I relate to this cool assassin chick. I relate.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely got that from your book too, of relating that the people were real, and specifically about bad guys. I don't want the bad guy that's just I'm going to take over the world and destroy everything because I feel like it. I want to know, but that's not realistic. Maybe. I hope not.
We hope.
No. Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice I received when doing this and writing the main villain was, write your villain, at least for a chapter, as the hero. Why are they the hero? What are they doing as the hero? And because your villain, every villain in history believes that they are the hero. In our history, believes they're the hero. So in your book, your villain needs to believe and be justified that they're the hero.
Mm-hmm. That is actually really great.
But just clip that right there. That is.
What theme or experience from your real life made its way to your characters?
Anxiety. Anxiety. Between Darren and Luna, listen. But honestly, anxiety, laughing it off. But yes, mental health. I wanted that to be a theme in my book because that is something I struggle with. That's something that a lot of my friends have struggled with. That's something my family has struggled with. And that's something that I don't think is talked about enough. I don't think it's addressed enough. And I don't think it's mainstream. I think it's still very stigmatized. So the other thing that I wanted to incorporate was the LGBTQ community. I don't feel like 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I love that book, but it's not marketed to the LGBTQ community. It's marketed mainstream. And that was what I wanted to do with Golden Resistance as well. I wanted to market it mainstream, even though it is part of the LGBTQ community. And that's not to isolate the community, but that is because I feel that those books should not need to they should just be mainstream. They can it'd be like saying it's dystopian. Do you know what I mean? So that was something I wanted to incorporate as well.
Yeah, I love that. I agree. Okay, so I want to read the first line of the book because I actually really liked it. And this is technically not spoilers because if you're going to read the book, you're going to read the first line. So
I have to ask, are you reading the first line of the prologue or are you reading the first chapter? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So I did say I thought she
mentally prepare.
Because when I read this, because she made this question, I was like, "Did you mean the first chapter?" Because the
first line of the first chapter, she's like about her mom holding her sweaty hands, like
oh my god, we got to talk about sweaty palms.
What I love it, Suzanne Collins, like Hunger Games and stuff, is like, okay, yeah, it's crazy, like not realistic, but there's some really intense like meaning behind all of the things that happen in her world. And so I felt like the first line was, I felt like it was loaded with some feelings about it. So I wanted to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Arella. Am I saying that right? Arella?
Arella, whichever one. It's fine. It's a book. We're all going to say it different. It's fine.
Aurelia
I don't care. Say it however you want.
So, Aurelia was a democracy, and always a democracy should be, until it wasn't. I was like, wait, I love a first line. I love a first line where I'm like, but why? I love questions going into that. And then it was, it was in the letter. Where's the letter?
Which?
The edict. The edict.
Okay, I was about to say letter too.
I thought that's what you meant, but then I didn't want to say.
Yes, that's what I meant, the edict. It's a government letter. Okay, so
yes.
The New Republic is built on order, and order is built on truth. And that's obviously it's a dystopian, so
only truth, guys.
We already are walking into this questioning the order. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on the first line of a book. Do you think a first line is important? Did you stress over your first line, or did you know that these were lines that would start your book powerfully and set the tone for what readers were going to experience?
So the first line of the book was something that I did stress over. And I did not have the prologue or the edict in there until closer to the very end of drafting and editing. So the edict was actually not put in until after the beta readers. And all of them were like, I don't know, like, I need like a rundown of what these are. And I was like, well, perfect, because so from my original 40,000 words, 20,000 of that was cut. And the edict was in there. So I literally just pulled it out and put it over here. And the prologue, I was like, well, I need a way to introduce everything to give us a general idea. And I was like, well, it's a democracy. And then it wasn't. So that Aurelia was a democracy. It just flowed.
It flowed naturally. I just want to say I liked your first lines because I felt like
thank you.
It set the tone. It added the mystery. Beck and I, we literally go to the bookstore and we read first lines of books and we judge them. We're like, do I want to read this book?
And then I get flamed online for judging books by their first lines because I'm very critical.
You do. If I am not interested, if I am not invested by the cover, and I know don't judge a book by its cover, you have to. If I am not invested by the cover and I am not invested by the first 2 pages, goodbye. And I don't mean that offensively, but I'm not like, unless it's recommended to me, you gotta bring me in, and you gotta bring me in fast. And so I wanted that to be not aggressive, but I wanted it to kind of slap you in the face. Like, this is what's going on.
So this was a thing early on the Reading Rift where we would go to the bookstore and I would have to justify why I was so critical of first lines, which is you go to any bookstore ever, any bookstore. There is a lot of books.
There's so many books.
A lot of covers look good.
Yeah.
So you put that cover up and that first line is shit. I'm closing that book.
Not interested.
Not interested.
No, thank you.
A lot of I will say, and I can say that is a good first line. Yes. So
thank you.
I like how dedications they've always been part of the art of a book. I don't know. But like, I feel like I'm experiencing that this is a world of the dedication also sets the tone for the book. Like sometimes you can just like thank your family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But sometimes I've seen authors do like really cool things with their dedications. And I want to talk about your dedication. So I'm just going to read it for my readers. For those who believe they can be more, you already are. So that's a lot there. So can you talk a little bit about why you needed that to be the first thing people read when they open your book?
I think subconsciously, I needed it. I needed to hear it, and I needed it to be said to me. And I think the main character, Luna, is very much obviously all of these characters have pieces of me in them, but that main insecurity that Luna has, that's something that, definitely came from me and from my insecurities from past or whatever. But especially with her as the character, she doesn't believe in herself. And it takes her a while to find herself. But I also know, especially for women, I guess I'll speak generally, especially for women that I know, so many of them doubt themselves and don't believe in themselves and need to be lifted up by somebody else. And that's not a bad thing, but I wanted the readers to know that someone else is rooting for them and that you're not alone, but you are all that you need. You don't need anybody else. And if you are looking to be better, you're already better because you're looking to be better.
Love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And I think this is going to go well because we are getting into that section now where we're kind of talking about the spotlight you kind of put on mental health in this book. So the characters are externally fighting the bad guys, the bad government, and they're also having to fight to mentally keep up not only with the fight but with themselves. How can this relate to our real lives where we are all fighting to keep up with our internal, mental health and our internal demons while also having to keep up in real life?
I mean, I think it's exactly what you just said. It's reality. I mean, that is our reality, is we are all dealing with our own personal battles, but it's still expected to show up and work or mom or, be the happy, smiling customer service person or, take the maintenance. I'll do all the maintenance work or whatever. I mean, that is unfortunately the reality that we live in is suck it up, deal with it, and move on. And I think that that's why part of the reason I really wanted to focus on the mental health aspect and make it, because it shouldn't be that way.
Okay, yeah. In writing this book, were there scenes that were emotionally difficult for you to write? And if you feel comfortable sharing, maybe why certain scenes you felt an emotional connection with?
Sure. So, spoiler free, chapter 14, you lose a very significant person, rather unexpectedly. If you know, you know.
We know.
That character was never meant to go. That was a change that was made 3 weeks before the book went to beta and caused me to have to rewrite the last 2/3 of the book because of that character's removal. And I cannot read that scene without becoming teary because I love that character so much. It gutted me to remove them, but I needed a catalyst to push things over, and I didn't have it. And so it was either heighten the stakes or shorten the timeline. So I heightened the stakes.
You know what? I'm going to say, as a writer anyways, I understand. There are characters. There is a specific character, actually, a very specific character I had to kill. Like, at the end of the day, if I ever publish this book, he had to die. Like, there was no way around it.
Right.
It gutted me to even think about doing it, much less trying to write that, is insane. So I actually understand that one.
Yep.
And in writing these characters who are struggling very internally and also, fighting a very bad government, How do you hope readers walk away by the end of these books with these characters?
I hope they see pieces of themselves in it. I hope that they see that there is good in the world, but I also hope that they find pieces of them. And I hope that they see, not necessarily a perfect reflection of themselves in these characters, but maybe in Darren's sass, or Marcella's, determination, or Wyatt's love of his family, or Luna's devotion. I hope that you can pick those things apart, or Milo's persistence. Even the first citizen. I mean, she has uh, a love that is very understated, but it's there. And I hope that readers will see that as they read.
Has writing helped you process your own mental health? You mentioned earlier where you'd come home from work and then you're just like, I can't write a book, like kind of like therapy. So we've heard, obviously she knows because she's a writer, but I want to hear about your experience with writing a book that has mental health themes in it. Mm-hmm. How has that affected your own mental health?
Going through the divorce, I don't think I realized how much I was leaning into writing and how much I was using it as an escape for everything that I was going through. So very therapeutic for me, very much a way to allow my emotions out, to put them into the characters rather than not dealing with them, but having that outlet to be able to get it out healthy and not use it in a different way. But writing was extremely helpful during that time. And I mean, again, I'm starting to write book 2, and we're still kind of in the throes of all of this. So it's that is kind of along those lines as well.
Yeah, we interviewed another author. Her name's Gabrielle Stone, and she wrote a book about her own life, put it out there, got a lot of criticism, but and also a lot of love. But what she had told us in her interview was she was like, no amount of therapy would have helped me compared to like writing that book. Yeah. And it was like writing it got it out of her body. It was like, okay, mm-hmm. It's not mine anymore, but it's like a healthy way to process it in a beautiful way that also can help other people. Because we both relate to ACOTAR. Like, yes. It's a fantasy book. What are you guys talking about? Right. Read it and find out.
Yeah.
It's the character development. It's knowing it's you're not alone. It's the found family. It's the the blood of the womb is, no, what is it? Blood of the coven is thicker than water of the womb. Like, you don't have to be related to somebody to love them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love writing. I love when people can use a creative outlet to help other people, but also help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
What did you have to deep research on the science side or the fantasy side or anything for this book?
Gamma waves in the brain. Hold on, let me see if I can, do I still have it up? I do. Hold on one second. This is can you see it? There you go.
Yeah.
My gamma waves, like the different, like I literally went and researched how high human gamma waves can get. What's the highest gamma waves there ever was? And actually it was from a monk in Ireland. He did a meditative state for over 16 hours and got his gamma waves up to like 80 or something like that, which is like crazy high, like unheard of. The only other time gamma waves happen this high is seizures. So I know way too much, but that's way too much. But I wanted, with the water, with the contamination, I wanted the transition to be realistic. I mean, obviously it's not. It's fantasy. It's sci-fi. It's not. It's, very Michael Crichton. But I wanted it to have that Michael Crichton feel of this could be. So if your body's contaminated, if it's forcing this gamma wave increase and your body can't handle it, you're going to seize and die. But if your body adjusts, then you're going to develop a different ability because you have more of the bandwidth in the gamma waves in your brain.
Yeah,
that is actually so cool.
I was curious, like, do you have a background in science?
No. I went to school for music. No.
I'm telling you right now, best authors, they have music, English degrees, they have nothing to do. When they go write sci-fi and they're so good at it, is because they are nerds and they know how to research.
The ADHD, man, it helps. The hyper focus of, I mean, I had, like, this is like the main, but I had literally pages and pages of research. Like, I have a friend, Kaylee, my friend who gave me ACOTAR. She's a physician's assistant. So she deals with that. She works at an urgent care. She deals with this stuff all the time. So I'd be texting her and be like, how long does it take to die from a gun wound infection? She'd be like, what are you doing? Like, can you have increased brain waves from like birth, or would that be essentially? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a neuroscientist. like, come on, help me out here, Kay. Like, poor girl.
I loved reading your book and feeling that what you said was like, did she discover, like, is this real? I read, it's a pretty popular book, but Project Hail Mary, the movie's coming out. It's by the same guy that wrote The Martian. And
it's on my TBR.
Yeah, so I read that book, and he does calculations, like pages in the book.
Wow.
Calculations. He was like, I consulted with like astrophysics and stuff like that. And I was like, I did skip those calculations, but it just made it feel like, okay, wait, we could do this. This feels so real. And that's when I think a good sci-fi book, when it's like, but wait, why haven't we discovered how to have profit abilities? Like, what? Mm-hmm. It's right here in this book, you guys.
Right. And it's something,
why are we here yet? We've clearly discovered it.
Right. We just have to make the serum. That's all we have to do. And do a lot of injections and, forced slavery. It'll be fine.
We're all ignoring the fiction part of the sci-fi part.
Yeah.
Right. The dystopian part where it sucks. It's fine.
Okay.
It'll be fine.
Can you explain to readers, and this was something that I wanted to talk about, because I loved the intricacy of the world you had set up. So I wanted to ask about, you've got this city described as like arches and there's like levels. So if you could just kind of set the scene for readers of what does this dystopian society look like?
And where did this come from somewhere, or like how did you come up with this idea?
I genuinely, I wish I could tell you where it came from. I don't, when I had this dream, this was the city in my head. Like it was Kent and Luna in this arched white arches and all these little walkways, and below them were slums. And it just was. But so the city of Solace is the only one that is like this. I mean, obviously we haven't really visited any other cities in the book, besides Amphalos. But that is a very unique town city. So that's not quite the same. You will in book 2, but the city itself is, I wanted to make it not only, the hierarchy within the Batari and the enslaved humans, but it's a physical hierarchy as well, where the Batari are literally above them. They have created themselves above them in the city of Solace, and the enslaved humans live underneath, in the darkness, in the slums, and, just dealing with everything else. So if you think about, like, did you guys read The 1,000th Floor at all? Do you know at all what I'm talking about? Okay. If you like dystopian, Lydia, read it. It's YA. It's awesome. It's a great book. But so what I envisioned in my head was like a skyscraper, like if you've got 2 skyscrapers, 50-story, 60-story skyscrapers, and those are your main arch. And those are then supporting driving, streets that have vehicles on them, and then walkways between. So it's almost kind of like a web of just like these white paved streets and stuff. And then the arches are not every single, one. Obviously, there's like little offsets, but more of like a platform to sit on. And they're the support system of the city.
I love the idea. I was like, we should not actually do this because I don't love the idea. I don't love the humans living down below. I was more
no.
Sounds great.
skip the enslaved human part, and pretty city. Right. And then but I wanted it to also be like an ecosystem where you've got the greenhouses and you've got the fruit and the vegetables, and it to be that futuristic, like, okay, we have these nice industrial cities and these nice industrial towers, but we also have been, smart about our sustainability because they're not, complete monsters.
Yeah. There's good and bad and all the things.
Well, yeah. Right. However lopsided it is.
Right.
How did you come up with the characters' names, and do any of them have deeper meanings?
So the characters, Luna does. Luna is, so in my dream, Luna wasn't named, Kent was. But Kent was a name I always liked as a kid. If I ever, like when I was really, really little, I was like, if I'm going to have a baby, I'm going to name it Kent. I did not name my son Kent, obviously. But it's just a name I always liked. But Luna is Kaylee's dog. And I loved the name Luna. I thought I've always been obsessed with the moon, with stars. I felt that it felt very poignant with the book, with the flower and the gold and everything else. And because the moon is more so, like, I don't know, it felt very good. And I wanted to honor, them and Kaylee in that way as well, and to incorporate them. I didn't want to use her kids' names because I didn't think that was the best idea. So, but their dog name is Luna.
That's so sweet to do that.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask for funsies. Was it easier to name your characters or your kids?
Characters. 100% characters.
I made a joke earlier today that I was like, you know what? I bet it was hard to name the characters because when I name characters, I am like, because I write epic fantasy, so I have like, my gosh, hours. What are these languages? What am I doing? I don't even know anymore. I'm gonna give up. So,
oh my God, see
the world was with it.
No, I literally. So this is terrible. Well, in my like actual job, I come across tons of different names every single day. So when I like read one that's really interesting, I write it down. I literally have a list of names that I'm like, oh, that's a cool name. I'll be talking to somebody on the phone, be like, your name's really interesting, and they're like, hey, weirdo, like, why are you telling me about my name? I'm like, oh, it's so cool.
10 years later in a book somewhere.
Right. So that's like, what the hell?
Okay, the next one, go back into world building. In making a map, what was it like for you, and was it hard?
So making a map, I literally, I actually wrote down the website in case anybody wants it, because this is the mapping system I used is a free mapping system. It's called Nortantis, Nortantis, Nortantis. I don't know, but literally, it is. So there's another thing called like Fantasy Map Builder, and that is a nice mapping system. But I started working with that, and I was like, this is not doing at all what I wanted to do. Like, I wasn't able to get it to look the way I wanted it to. So I kind of, kept looking, and then came across this, and it literally will build maps similar to the book to Golden Resistance, but it will build different, more more cosmic maps. It can build older maps. And then what I did is I took the basics of the map, the rivers, the edges and everything else, saved it, and then I put it in Canva. And I added text over it. So that way I have my basic map, but if I want to change font settings, things like that, I can move it around. The other thing with the map that was really not difficult, but something I wanted to make sure made sense is the miles. At the bottom of my map, there's actually, oh my gosh, what's that called?
A
The
key? Legend?
not a key, like
Ruler.
how long
Ruler?
something is. Is it a ruler? You know what I'm
No.
talking about, though. Whatever.
Everyone knows
It's a measurement. Oh God. It's a measurement of, listen, it's been a day. It's a measurement of 300 miles, but I literally at one point took that and like with a ruler, and then I was like, okay, if Darren and Luna are here and walked to here, how many hours would that take them? And then if Marcella and Wyatt pick them up and then they drive for this many hours, how far away is this city? And then if we boat from here to here, how many days is that going to take? And how many miles is that? Like I wanted it to be feasible. I didn't want it. I wanted it to, like, you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, this is 300 miles. This is how far that is. That makes sense.
What is it called? The fantasy horse, or like the fantasy horse that can just...
yeah. So I the one that explained that to you?
I think you were.
So I have this whole thing with the fantasy horse, and you might have heard of it before too.
No idea what we're talking about. No.
It's basically the horse that does it all. It's the horse that just goes from the Shire to Mordor. Just the horse that keeps on horsing.
Right. The horse, the elven horse that just go.
It just goes. But like build a pony from Lord of the Rings. It follows the party to a certain place, and then it just makes it back to the Shire. Right. The fantasy horse it just goes. And so well,
I was gonna say, like, I hate the fantasy horse.
It's like fantasy horse.
It's like, okay, but they just showed up, or like, what is going on?
I was hungry.
So maybe I like sci-fi, because maybe I like the science behind things. I don't know.
You like planned fantasy and sci-fi. You like the logic.
Yeah, I like when it's like makes sense. So
that's why I like when it makes sense, because I say this ironically because I'm actually writing a sci-fi right now, but I don't write sci-fi. But I do. I also hate when it doesn't make sense. Like the horse is hungry, guys.
So I didn't know that.
They showed up. They're just here.
Yeah, it's exactly. That you measured that.
That's actually really interesting too, because I actually use the fantasy, whatever it's called, the fantasy map maker, and I'm not fond of it. So I'll probably have to check out the other thing then.
Yeah. So it's a free system. You have to do it on a computer. It will not, it's like literally a program you have to download, and it takes space because of it's just such a large system, and it's a little fiddly to work with, but it's worth it. I was so much happier with my map, the way it turned out and how I was able to edit it, than the fantasy. I didn't love it. It was just so, I don't know. I felt like it was, every time I looked at the fantasy maker map, I was like, oh, I feel like this is just, it looked childish to me. And I don't know if that was my own, inaccuracy of using it. I don't know. This was much better.
I'm right there with you. There is something about, I'm not going to like diss it too hard, because it is a good like starter.
No, it's a great system.
Yeah, it is definitely great. Definitely if you just need a baseline for like where everything is. But there is definitely something. It's not a professional. It's not like this is where I want my map to look like in the end. So,
and I looked at professional mappers, and I mean, oh my God, I was like, I will figure this out myself. I will cartography the shit out of this.
I love your dedication.
I really appreciate you know how to build a map, but I can't pay that money yet.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna figure it out. Listen, that's where I'm at with the character right now. I'm like, I'm gonna learn how to draw. Like I don't know how else to whatever. Figure it out.
Yeah. I love it. I love your attitude.
I plan on being an author, and now I'm going to be Michelangelo too, actually.
Yes. Okay.
It'll be 6 fingers. It'll be fine.
It'll make sense. Okay.
So
how can readers connect with you? Where can they find you on social media? How can they find the book? This type of information that maybe we can link below. Yeah.
So TikTok is my biggest platform. I am the most active on TikTok. Instagram, I don't have that traction. And again, it's the marketing. Like I can't do it all. So TikTok is usually where I'm at. It's under ao.garnette, TTE. And the book is on Ingram Spark. It's also on Draft to Digital, which links to Kobo and everything else. Those are physical books, but the ebook is exclusively on KDP right now. I'm hoping to be able to kind of step away from that once we get a little bit more traction. But right now, KDP is going to be where I'm going to get the most traction, but you can find it there.
Okay. What is your long-term vision for your writing career?
I'd love to be a full-time writer one day. Like that would be amazing, to be able to live in this world and be able to just create these characters and everything. Like that would be amazing. Is that realistic? I don't know. Maybe, but we'll see.
You got to be a little bit delusional to change your life or your world.
I mean, listen, I'm a whole lot of Delulu. I got 3 kids and I wrote a book. So like and worked 40 hours a week and I'm getting divorced. So there's a whole lot of crazy up in here.
Okay, it's got to get published. So I think you could afford to be.
Yep, you should
be a little Delulu. It'll be fine.
Good. And then the last question, which we ask all of our authors that come on here, why do you write?
Because everyone deserves to feel loved and to feel seen. And I want my readers to feel loved and feel seen. And I want them to know that you can find love even in the darkest places, in the darkest times. And you're not, just because you feel alone, you're not. There's always somebody else there willing to take you from the darkness and put their hand out and help you.
Wow. Beautiful, beautiful.
Love
awesome.
That.
So, book will be live. You said January
21st, Wednesday.
Okay. So, this will already be out. So, go ahead and find it on where she said it was available. And then you can message me and let me know your thoughts on that ending because, wow.
Yeah.